Hello. This video is not intended for children. It's a video intended for adult collectors. This is to cover a custom playset that I created. And I'm going to give you some background here on another playset that we never got. This is Playset Magazine number 11 from 2003. And it has an article in here about the Mark's Monster Mansion, which never saw production for one reason or another in 1965. And these photos are of the prototype that the Mark's R&D department were working on to try to pitch the idea to produce a playset. And there are various parts, MPC and Aurora and different things. That's a Mark's castle that they repainted. Get in tight on that. This is actually from Mark's. And it's a fairly lengthy article for this publication. It's like 6 pages. It's not bad. I mean, it's got some good photos. That's the main thing. This is what we could have gotten. And as monster kids in the 60s, we were well acquainted with playsets, and this would have been like a holy grail for us. But, like I said, we never got it. So, anyway, I just went ahead and created a custom from that time period. This is supposed to have been made in 1969. And the storyline of the playset, the plot, happens in 1969, which was contemporary then, and it involves the capture of some victims for sacrifice, and these victims are actually descendants of the people that hanged the witch, who's the main villain of the plot behind the playset. Let me turn this up so you can see what the box lid looks like. Pretty much here. Okay, first of all, that little character there is actually a corruption of the mascot for Mark's in the 60s. Here is a little figure of Magic Marksy, and he appeared on a lot of playset boxes that Mark's made in the 60s. So anyway, for the purposes of this horror playset, we've changed him to Black Magic Marksy. And this is an old Haunted Hulk sticker. This is actually what the witch looks like now. She's a revenant, having been hanged in 1692. She's back from hell and she's pissed off, and very powerful. And there's some of the hyperbole and blurbs, and hopefully I kind of captured the ambiance of the period and the toys that we had back then. So here's some of the contents of the set. It gives like an overview of the different contents. And here is a listing of the Unholy Eight. Whoops. There we go. Got Hagmar the Witch, Creature of Doom, Monster, Vampire, Executioner, Wolfman, Mummy, Skeleton with Devil Bat. And basically, I'm using the 8 MPC Unbreakable Weird monsters for these characters because they look really cool, and I couldn't very well come up with new figures because it's just a custom I threw together. Anyway, here's the witch. And let's see who's next. Creature of Doom. Yeah, this Grim Reaper looking figure according to MPC Packaging, it's known as the Creature of Doom. And it's the most powerful of the Unholy Eight. And the monster is a Frankenstein-type monster, a flesh golem. And it's actually possessed by a demon that the witch summoned and bound into the thing to serve her. Here is an ancient vampire. Looks a lot like the Phantom of the Opera, but that's MPC's vampire. And that is, that guy's kind of a rival of the witch, but he can't really get anything over on her. And here's the executioner. He's a revenant. He was a nasty sort in real life, and in undeath, he's really nasty. He has fear powers. Here's the Wolfman. I know it looks more like a classic werewolf with the big ears and all that, especially being emaciated. But MPC calls him the Wolfman, and I just went with it. I kind of patterned his background after the Paul Naschy werewolf, even though Paul Naschy was really stocky. This guy's really skinny. Okay, and then we've got the mummy. He's got a snake around his leg there. Standard MPC mummy. And we've got the skeleton, and the way I've, in the background of my playset, that skeleton is just called Cursed Skeleton, and the bat is actually a separate being. It's called Devil Bat, and they work in tandem usually. And I've got some background for the Unholy Eight here. I'm going to read. Okay, Hagmar the Witch, born Hagmarian Thorn, traveled Europe and Asia, amassing vast knowledge of the black arts before coming to the New World and being hanged in 1692 at Demon's Overlook. And by the way, this takes place on the coast of Maine, overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. There's the cemetery at the top of a big cliff, and the cliff goes down to the ocean, and there is a big seaside grotto down there that's perpetually obscured by mist due to a spell from the witch. And she has a couple of mystic ships that the Unholy Eight use, and she can actually, there's room in the seaside grotto to bring them in. You'll see that later. Anyway, she prayed to malevolent entities, ensuring that she would have friends in hell before she died. Those religious fanatics who hanged her merely allowed her to achieve her destiny, to lead the Unholy Eight on a crusade of evil and chaos sowing, the likes of which hadn't been witnessed in centuries. 277 years after the hanging, she has returned for revenge, now an emissary of dark god Agrazel, the bringer of blood and pain and ecstasy. She will begin her revenge on those that murdered her for practicing her religion. Hagmar is a ghastly revenant wearing a spectral hangman's noose and talking to her bat familiar, which is really just a manifestation of her clairsentience spell. Her spellcasting abilities have increased tenfold since spending over 2 centuries in hell. Her magical laboratory under Demon's Overlook, now called Cemetery Hill, contains a summoning circle, an alchemy table, a mystic library, and a powerful grimoire called the Malefice Infinium. This tome allows her to cast spells through time and over great distances. It also allows her to summon mystic ships, which she has anti-christened the Haunted Hawk and the Ghost Galleon. These spectral ships allow the Unholy Eight to sail the seas at unnatural speed and traverse dimensions. The Creature of Doom is the avatar of an unnamed dark god. It is virtually indestructible and has great psychokinetic powers. The scythe it wields is intensified negative energy and can cut through nearly anything on a molecular level. It can raise undead by the dozens and has absolute control over all lesser undead. It is there to assist the witch, but also to ensure that she honors her part of the pact with her dark masters. It is the most powerful of the Unholy Eight. The Wolfman is a 13th century Spanish nobleman named Armando Jose Alvarez. The witch controls him with spells and potions, but he is willful and occasionally rebels, especially when beautiful women are in peril. Strangely, they usually fall in love with him. The other members of the Unholy Eight sometimes have to beat him back in line. He is a deadly lycanthrope. The monster is a demon-possessed body made of parts of different corpses and given life through alchemy by the witch. It serves her totally and without question. The mummy is an undead possessed by the snake demon Sakarkas. It is surrounded by an energy aura, making it fireproof. It has a negative energy touch, which turns the living into the undead unless a cleansing ritual is successfully carried out. The vampire jokingly refers to himself as Varney after the character in Penny Dreadfuls. He is Count Valagast. He is a potent vampire lord of 8 centuries. He considers himself Hagmar's equal, but she usually figures a way to trump him. He serves with her because it pleases his lord Agrizel. Someday the witch will bow before him if he has his way. Cursed Skeleton and Devil Bat are demons which work in tandem. They keep their names secret to avoid unwanted control. The skeleton body is powered by a great energy aura, which makes it an exceptionally tough brute. Devil Bat relies on speed and maneuverability to put a diseased bite on its foes and victims. Devil Bat thirsts for blood, but is strangely attracted to sweet smells like cologne and aftershave. Go figure. The Executioner is an insanely sadistic revenant who was called the Crimson Executioner in life. Although physically powerful, his greatest ability is the fear he strikes in others. With a glance of his red eyes, he can make the weak-willed flee or cringe. With a stare, he can render them insane or make their hearts explode. Keep telling yourself, it's only a playset. It's only a playset. And with that bit of hokum out of the way, we'll look at some other stuff here. Okay, the main so-called good guys, I guess, really mercenaries, they're monster hunters called the Paladin Force. They have high-tech weaponry and they're highly trained and skilled. And they use all the accoutrements that take advantage of the weaknesses of various monsters, like ultraviolet light and silver and blessed items and such. And these guys are pretty tough, at least in the context of my background. Of course, you know, the kid playing with the playset might have a different idea. I just slaughter all the heroes to start with. And there's the 5th member of their group. I didn't go into detail on these guys. And here then are the victims. Slated for sacrifice, descendants of the original mob that hanged the witch back in 1692 at Demon's Overlook. And of course they're scantily clad and comely, like, you know, the horror trope that we saw in a lot of classic horror movies in the 60s and 70s. And let's spin this box around and take a look at some more of the graphics on here. Here's the fictitious partnership between Marks and Multiple, which in the background that I had figured out, this is actually by Multiple, but they use some Marks pieces. And they use the Marks name, but that was squashed quickly by Louis Marks because he didn't want to be associated with, you know, the B team, the MPC Multiple guys. So he put a stop to that. But a few of them got out, so, you know, it's rare and all that. In reality, it's just a custom, but that's a fictitious background. Here is the plot of the playset in a nutshell. Now, I illustrated the box. It took forever, but anyway, there we go with that. And now let's stop this, and I'll actually set the thing up for you.